Hello, you're watching News Mongolia on MNB World. I'm your host, Irndala Inhamoklang. For our top stories for today, US Election Watch event held in Ulaanbaatar. China and Mongolia marked the 75th anniversary with renewed commitments to cooperation. Chinese ambassador to Mongolia highlights close ties between the two nations. Stay tuned for more news. Today, the U.S. Embassy in Ulaanbaatar hosted a U.S. Election Watch party event at the Novotel Hotel, drawing attendees to follow live updates of the U.S. presidential election results. The gathering offered a deep dive into the American electoral process and provided participants with a unique opportunity to engage directly with American diplomats and election experts.
The event opened with welcoming remarks from the U.S. Deputy Chief of Mission, setting the stage for a lineup of interactive activities. Attendees participated in mock voting, simulating the U.S. election experience, and engaged with American representatives at dedicated information tables. These stations provided insights into various aspects of the U.S. electoral system, including the Electoral College voting processes and economic and social issues shaping this year's election.
So right now the election results are very, very close. I don't know if the results will be decided tonight or if the election is going to be projected tonight, but I can tell you with great pride that the U.S.-Mongolia relationship has been strong in the last 35 years between Republican and Democratic presidents. They've all had incredible attention to the U.S.-Mongolia relationship. So I would suspect that whoever wins will have a lot of history to learn from, and they'll know that we've had a presence in the Indo-Pacific. We've supported democratic partners like Mongolia, and I suspect that the next president of the United States will look very closely at other democracies in the Asia-Pacific, including Mongolia. So, you know, one thing that Mongolia and the United States share is that we have a shared sense of democratic values. We believe in freedom of speech, human rights, religious freedom, and that's one thing that keeps our relationship strong. So I think that in the next year, we'll have a lot to build on. We already have existing dialogues on child protection, on human rights, on religious freedom, and I think that can continue throughout 2025 and beyond. So I would suspect that our common shared values of democracy will drive our relationship to higher levels.
Well, the platform of the two candidates are quite clear. One candidate is opposing some of the United Nations intergovernmental relationships, while the other one promised to continue the current relationship with those parties. And we have seen in the past where one certain candidate has seized some portion of the foreign aid pouring into developing countries like Mongolia. But this does not mean that U.S. owes Mongolia anything. This is U.S. taxpayers' money. It's their desire and need. It's their decision based on some of the foreign relations news and articles that have been floating around in the last few months. Mongolia will, I think, remain one of the most important partners in our region with the U.S. Just by looking at the ballot, one can see that instead of choosing the candidate, voters can cast their vote on what they want to do with their taxpayers' money. For example, whether they want to build a metro, subway station or not, or to invest in public library or invest in tourism and culture-related projects. So I think that is one certain aspect that we could learn from and hopefully integrate in the coming elections. But we also know that in the federal system of the U.S., the law varies in different states. So one certain state could have a different law, while the others would require photo ID, while others don't.
Throughout the morning, two panels featuring Mongolian experts provided perspectives on the U.S. election's broader implications. Additionally, a Mongolian journalist currently covering the elections in the United States shared insights from the ground, adding context to the unfolding results.
Well, first, thank you very much for coming to our Election Watch Party. We have lots of activities here today. You can see we have a live stream of U.S. television channels. We have panel discussions happening in the back room. We have a mock voting exercise, which will give Mongolians a chance to participate in a real live, a real simulated ballot, a mock ballot we have. We also have American diplomats who are there to explain the electoral process. But in terms of the results, I don't want to speculate on the results, but I can assure you that the United States will remain committed to its partnership with Mongolia, and we will remain committed to strengthening people-to-people ties between our two countries. Well, part of it is highlighting our own democratic process, right? I mean, it's quite complicated and quite involved with 50 states in Washington, D.C., but that's really why we're having this event today, is to showcase the U.S. electoral process as one example of democracy.
The event concluded with remarks from U.S. Ambassador Richard Bwangan and the announcement of the results from the mock voting exercise, revealing participants' choices in this simulated election. The U.S. Embassy expressed appreciation for the local interest in the U.S. democratic process and engagement in today's event.
On Tuesday, Mongolian Prime Minister Ulaanbaatar held a meeting with Chinese Premier Li Qiang on the sidelines of the 7th China International Import Expo in Shanghai. Oyurtin's attendance at the CIIE marks a significant moment in the ongoing partnership between the two countries as Mongolia and China celebrate 75 years of diplomatic relations.
Prime Minister Oyungirdeng highlighted the significance of the 75th diplomatic anniversary, viewing it as a critical milestone that aligns well with Mongolia's current economic ambitions. He expressed Mongolia's enthusiasm to engage in mutually beneficial projects in economic and trade fields, particularly in ports and infrastructure. We see tremendous potential in expanding these partnerships, identifying new areas for growth and strengthening cultural ties, according to Prime Minister Oyungirdeng. Premier Li Qiang emphasized the recent exchange of congratulatory messages between Chinese President Xi Jinping and Mongolian President Ulaanbaatar, a symbol gesture underscoring the importance that both countries place on their long-standing relationship. President Xi and President Ulaanbaatar reaffirmed their commitment to the long-term stability and growth of China-Mongolia relations. Li noted, adding that China looks forward to deepening this partnership. As both leaders recognize the value of deeper collaboration, there is a particular focus on enhancing connectivity between the two countries. Enhanced infrastructure, especially at ports and along borders, is expected to facilitate smoother trade routes and enable better resource allocation for mutually beneficial projects. Technology transfer and cooperation in the high-tech industries are also on the agenda, underscoring the desire for modernized economic relations. Following the discussion, Premier Li Qiang and Prime Minister Oyungirdeng attended a ceremony displaying recently signed cooperation documents in key areas such as green development and infrastructure. The new agreements reflect a shared commitment to addressing global environmental challenges and promoting sustainable practices. The focus on green development aligns with both countries' goals to create a more sustainable future and tackle environmental concerns within the region. The 75th anniversary milestone of diplomatic relations showcases the country's dedication to deepening their relationship through diplomatic and economic initiatives. With continued efforts in trade, technology, and infrastructure, China and Mongolia seek ways to further their collaboration, building a model for sustainable and productive regional partnerships.
As Mongolia and the People's Republic of China are marking their 75th anniversary of diplomatic relations, the Chinese ambassador to Mongolia, Shen Minjuan, highlighted the close bonds between the two nations over the past decades and expressed her thoughts on the prospects for their bilateral relationship as the both sides celebrated the 75th anniversary of their diplomatic ties on Wednesday.
China's rapid economic development in recent years has brought new opportunities to Mongolia. In 2023, bilateral trade between Mongolia and China reached $17 billion. The government of Mongolia has set a goal to increase this number up to $20 billion this year.
The trade with China accounts for nearly 70% of Mongolians' total. And every 1% of China's GDP growth, Mongolia's GDP grows by 0.6%. The early story.
Shen noted that many buildings built with China's aid in Mongolia decades ago have already become important landmarks for local people. Ambassador Shen also mentioned her visit to China's sponsored local development center for children with disabilities or special diseases, where kids can receive quality treatment and care. The ambassador also shared her views on potential areas for further collaboration between the two countries, focusing on mutual benefits in environmental protection and technical development.
Memories. Looking ahead, I would like to say the most important thing is to fully leverage the high-quality Belt and Road cooperation, to combine the mutual complementarity of Mongolia's natural resources and China's market and technology. Whether it's the mineral processing, the solar and wind power, or the desertification response, we could all make them to be the new highlights and the new growing points of the bilateral relations.
Now let us turn our attention to currency exchange rates provided by the Mongol Bank. Now let's take a look at foreign news provided by our international partner news agencies. Vice President Kamala Harris did not appear at her election night party that was planned at Howard University in Washington, D.C. A top aide was sent to inform the demoralized audience that she would not speak.
I'm still keeping the faith. I still have hope. The battleground states are still too close to call. So I think it's the right decision on the Harris campaign's part to not concede and not declare victory. I'm cautiously optimistic. I think that the vice president still has a path to victory, but the numbers are just too close to call. So I'm keeping hope, but it's cautious optimism on my part.
And I'm going to say it's still early. I will say that a lot of the predictions that are being made, I still have faith because only 50% of Philadelphia has come through. We have not heard from Allegheny County. We have not heard from Philadelphia County. We have to wait and see how Pittsburgh, Philadelphia, and Reading turn out in Pennsylvania. We don't know how Arizona or Nevada are going to turn out. So even with all that they're predicting about Georgia, if we get those three states, there's still a path to victory. It'll be a very, she can eke out a win, but it is still a win. So I still have faith.
Harris still has a path to the White House through the northern battleground states, but the map is getting less forgiving. Some supporters said they were not giving up. Harini Krishnan, the national director of South Asians for Harris Waltz, said she didn't expect to sleep, but that she would be up checking the results. She also emphasized that there are votes left to count.
Supporting women. Women supporting women.
Well, that's all for today. Thank you for staying with us. We'll see you tomorrow with more news and updates. Good night.